The following program has been rated GE by the Kenya Film Classification Board. It is therefore suitable for general family viewing.
Hello viewer, good morning and welcome to Chungu cha Jamii. My name is Betty Akuku, I'm your host today. We are going to be learning about a very educative and important topic, especially for those who are parents and guardians of young children. We are talking about discipline for the under 10s. I have guests in studio who are going to take us through this discussion, and I know they are very resourceful, and you are not going to regret it, but you're going to learn so much more that you need in your home, especially at this time. Welcome, my guests. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Betty, for having me here. My name is Tegist. I'm a psychosocial specialist. I have worked with different organizations on different programs that try to develop the system for helping children.
I'm Reverend David Kamato. I'm a counseling psychologist, bringing in quite an experience of the same to the society. I do one-on-one counseling in our office. And again, I also do trainings on various areas regarding parenting and marriage. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome, Reverend David and Tigists from Ethiopia. I hope that your life there is not so different with our life here in Kenya, and especially on matters parenting and also on matters children. So today we are talking about discipline for the under 10s. When you think about the under 10s, surely this is like the foundation of the children we have in the future, the parents we have in the future, the dads we have in the future. If our under 10s are not tamed, then we lose so much in the future. What is it, what would be your best definition of discipline? Because we know that maybe discipline is just teaching people the right things. What is your right definition of discipline, Tigist?
In the Bible, Proverbs 22:6 says like, train your child in the way he should go. Mm-hmm. And when he grows up, he will not depart from it. So discipline is training. You train and you show the child how to do, how to behave, what to do and what to expect when some wrong things happen and how to handle it. Mm-hmm. All those kind of details in life. Mm-hmm. That is discipline. Training. Discipline is sometimes mixed with punishment. Okay. It's mixed with punishment. So okay. For now, we are talking about discipline.
Okay. Reverend, what is your take on discipline definition?
Well, it's been very well put by my sister here, mm-hmm. but I want also to give it a different approach.
Okay.
The common understanding of the world, in this world, is that discipline is the practice of making people, behave or follow the rule of behavior. Mm-hmm. And to be disciplined is to be able to to withstand challenges. Mm-hmm. Again, like she has just said, there is this very interesting word, disciplina, from the Latin source, which means teaching and learning. Okay. So in order for us to discipline someone, they have to learn from another person. Mm-hmm. So the role model is very important in making people behave according to the standard of society. Okay. Yes.
Tigist, when people want to learn about medicine, when people want to learn driving, when people want to learn about even being an instructor, they do it for a certain period of time. They go through a training class. And you said discipline is also training. How long do you train for discipline?
A child passes through different developmental stages.
Okay.
And on each developmental stage, they face a different challenge.
Okay.
So discipline will be like
All their
continuous. Continuous.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll be in that class forever?
Yeah.
And who will be the instructor of that class?
It's not like forever, but until, you know,
An adult?
an adult, your children reach an adulthood.
Yes.
Because at different ages, they have different challenges, and they face and they have to know different kind of things. Mistakes shouldn't be taken as a big disaster.
Okay.
Mistakes should be
Allowed.
seen by parents as an opportunity to teach the child.
Okay.
So, as you said, like a training takes time. Also, training a child will take time.
Okay.
Like if you tell him once or twice, he might not get it. So you have to repeatedly communicate the same thing in different ways
Wow,
to your
that
child.
is a very difficult thing, because what our parents would like is, I have told you this, I have told it to you again, I have said it a third time, and you still don't get it. I mean, you need discipline. And our way, most of our ways of administering discipline is by caning or punishing in a way of denying or withdrawing some kinds of things. I don't know which is the right way of discipline. And I like what you said, that making mistakes should be a way for the parent. It should be a learning opportunity. It's a presentation for the parent to teach something to the child. But we parents don't want to see our children do mistakes. So in this case, the parents are wrong when they don't allow their children to make any mistakes. They are wrong.
True.
Okay.
True.
So if that is the case, how are you supposed to discipline your children? Because you said it's in developmental stages, and it happens from what age?
It starts from the mother womb.
From the mother's womb.
We are, you know, like the communication can start there.
Okay.
You know, if the mother reads to the child, if the mother sings to the child, if the mother communicates with the child.
The child has ears to hear when you read?
That is what is believed.
Oh,
and
really?
is the science tells us that communication can start at that stage.
Okay.
So like, you know, like communicating and understanding and, you know, the child from that is very important.
Okay.
Because like, you know, there is also this attachment that is going to be created with the mother. And also after birth, you know, there are different ways that you communicate and you attach with the child. And that child gets all those kind of messages from the beginning. Some of us parents understand that a child, if he or she doesn't start speaking or walking, they don't understand or they don't listen to us. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. They do listen and they do communicate with us at very early age, at very early stage.
Girlfriends, some people think that disciplined children do this or don't do that. And so the parents are working day and night to have a list of, these are the things that you should do, and these are the things that you should not do. If you do this, you're the disciplined child. If you do not do this, you're an indisciplined child. What's your take on that?
Children, regardless of age, have their own crises at every level of development.
Okay.
Because the previous experience that they had in one level may be different from the next level. So behaviors will always change because they are meeting crises which do not allow them to continue whatever they were doing. Parents need to understand that at every developmental stage, there is always a difference in the way of perceiving issues. So sometimes we may take children to be misbehaved while they are not, while there are other forces that may cause them to behave the way they are doing. There could be some kind of, what do you call it, something like a disease, something like health conditions that have developed within places that you cannot see. Perhaps they are, perhaps the heart is disturbing, They are also, I mean, if it is, you find a child is, refusing to do work because he or she gets overexhausted, and you tend to think that the child is misbehaving. So, like it has just been said, the child may appear to be indisciplined because the mother may not or the father may not understand what is happening within him. I would have liked to mention this. Right from day one, the child comes out of the mother's womb with a complete body like this one of us.
Okay.
But the physical development has not reached its levels, the levels that can make them do things the way we do.
Yes.
The brain is there. It is waiting to be pumped with some information. And if we did not prepare them right from that stage, we are going to mess them up. For example, what happens to a child who is 2 days old? What does he do when he's angry? Or when he's hungry? He gets angry, and the anger is expressed in terms of crying.
Yes.
Now, in order for you to realize that this baby is normal, what do? You just touch the cheek. You'll see that he's going to turn towards the direction where, the touch has been. How does that relate to discipline? It tells you that there are some functional, already fully functional parts of the child. Use them for you to have some attachment with them.
Okay.
You'd wonder, or everyone would wonder how a child is able to detect the touch in the very first day. This touch is really important for, starting the discipline from day one, because it makes the child feel that, there's a sense of belongingness. If you do not have, proper contact with the child, especially the skin area, you will not relate with them. So, touching the child makes her or him relate with you such that in future, they do not want to be detached from you. They will not want to do things that, you do not like. Yes.
Tigist, children who are trained in discipline, do they still misbehave?
Yes, misbehaving will always be there.
Misbehaving will always be there.
Misbehaving, we have to know the source. Why does this child misbehave this way?
So misbehavior
Must be
is
understood.
not a sign that this child is not disciplined.
No. Yeah, it is understanding the child. Say, for example, we have this in therapy. We have this child disciplining system called ACT.
Yes.
ACT. ACT. So A stands for acknowledge feeling.
Okay.
Acknowledge feeling.
Which the parent should do.
Yes,
Okay.
which the parents should do. And C stands for communicate limit.
Okay.
And T stands for target alternative.
Target alternative.
Target alternative. So ACT, like you can apply to any misbehaving child or to misbehaving act, the acts.
Yes. Acknowledge, communicate,
Yeah.
and target.
You can give an example. I can give you an example. Like, for example, a child comes, there is a guest in your house,
Yes.
and a child comes and takes your the guest's water and drinks.
Yes.
And the parent will be shocked and say, like this misbehaving child.
Yeah.
blah. But the act of wanting to drink water, is it wrong?
Of course, it's not wrong.
It's not wrong. But you say, like, you acknowledge the feeling. Okay, this child wants a water. That's okay. And then the second one is like you communicate limit. You don't take
the guest's water.
the guest's water. That is communicating limit.
Yes. Target.
The third one is like there is water you know, in the kitchen or wherever there is, you go and drink that.
Yes.
So this act has to be applied by parents in all circumstances.
But this, the example you're giving is very common. It
Yeah.
happens all the time in our homes.
Yeah.
A guest has come nicely and neatly dressed, but a child just comes and crawls and climbs on you, and maybe the guest feels so uncomfortable. Or the guest is having some juice or water, and the child just comes and takes it and drinks it. That is very embarrassing to the guest. And what the guest takes is, her children are very indisciplined. Can you take a 2-year-old and administer the act you're talking about, you know, the acknowledge, the communicating the limits and the target, you know, providing the source of where they can get it? Is this possible with a 2-year-old? Because the children who do such kinds of things are below 3, you know. They do not acknowledge that this is a guest. As long as they feel thirsty, they'll just come and take it. It's not that they do not know where water is. Do you think that a small child can actually listen to such kinds of instructions from the mother?
Yeah. You keep, like, as I mentioned earlier, like discipline might not be a one-time thing.
Okay.
You keep telling this boy or girl the same thing. You know, once you communicate, you show it, you don't take this, but you go and, you know, take, because like he's thirsty and you can't say like you can't drink water. That's not fair.
Yeah.
You know?
Reverend, looking at this example that Tigist is bringing, it's very common in our homes. What mothers do mostly when they have been put in such kind of an embarrassing situation, they pull out the child and pinch them and beat them and chase them out. Is that a way of giving discipline to the child?
One thing that has to be done, because pinching or spanking makes the child realize that she has done
a
wrong.
mistake, yes.
All right? However, we should look back and see as to why the child is doing that. He or she is looking for some attention.
Yes.
There's something that he or she is missing. And like I said, they could also be suffering from, you know, a certain condition. Like, you know, if a person, I mean, a child has ADHD, you know, attention deficit, you know, attention, what do you got, ADHD, it is attention deficit hyperactive disorder. You know, if the parent does not realize that he has that, you know, disorder, you know, they will not be able to address that. So he's missing some attention, he or she is missing some attention towards that. Again, the parent may not have supplied enough for the needs of the child.
Okay.
Because all of us have what we call, you know, need to work with the hierarchy of needs. If you do not supply the child with the basic needs, like food, water, you know, sleep, if they don't have that, they'll do all sorts of things.
But you know, Reverend, children of young age, like the one you're talking about,
Yes.
it's never that they are hungry for them to come and take the guest food or the guest water. Children just like to eat all the time. Sometimes you also go with your children to the neighbor's house and they have just eaten, but the neighbor's food is much better and they just want to eat that. So they embarrass you all the time. And what people see is, she does not feed her children well. Her children are always hungry. But they ate in your house, maybe they didn't even like your food. But when you go out in the neighbor's house, they will not say they're full. They will just want to eat. Even the guest food, it's not that they're hungry that they do this.
The parents should not be embarrassed. The situation should dictate. I mean, if that happens, we should be able to handle both the guest and the child,
Okay.
right? First of all, you have shown them that this child has messed up by way of, you know, perhaps
Yes.
pinching her and taking her to a back room, or, you know, to her bedroom or something,
Okay.
or asking the house girl, the house help to lift him to, you know, to her place. Then address the same to the guests, because they also have children, or they will in future have children. You know, sometimes even to create some little fun, telling them that children will always remain children. You see, it will not make them feel like you have neglected them. You now come to understand the situation. However, discipline is not about the misbehavior they are there for.
Okay.
She has, my sister has just said, it is a learning process. It is learning. This kid will even do that tomorrow. He will always forget.
Yes.
But the training that you give him is to keep on, doing the same thing like you did every time, a situation like such happens.
Until they grow to what
Until
age?
they grow.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes parents are so irritated with children who you have to tell them 5 times of the same thing and they don't act. 5 times, you have to say it repeatedly. Is that what training on discipline is?
Yeah.
It's a hard job if that is what it is. You have to say one thing 10 times for people to listen.
If you say how our mind is wired, like the neurons in our mind,
Yes.
they connect. When they connect, and it is said only once, and it is not used, it will be lost. But if there is one thing that is communicated, and that neuron is connected, you repeat it, it will get stronger and stronger.
Wow, how many times must you repeat? Don't you think those are really, for me, my definition of indisciplined children are those ones that you have to tell one thing 10 times, or the ones you have to beat to do something?
Like, it might not be 10 times or like that. Like the example that we gave, you repeat it, even after the guest goes, you bring the child and say like, what you did was not right.
So after you do it
you
4
know?
times, do you expect them to stop it?
You don't count, like you say, like 1, 2, 3. But you repeat it, and then that child will get it in different ways, not only in one way. You'll find other opportunities to teach your child as well. So learning goes like that. The neurons in our brain, they wire when things are repeated. You can. Yeah, it is repeatedly. Whenever it is repeated, then it gets strong and the memory will stay there. So that when they also apply it, it gets stronger and stronger. So that is the main thing that the parents should be thinking.
Then
am
it
teaching.
means parenting, that makes parenting such a difficult work. Tigist, are there disciplined children? Is there a level you get to as a parent and say, I have made it, my children are most disciplined, even at under teens? Are there disciplined children?
The level differs, but all children goes through some kind of, misbehavior.
Okay.
Even the most disciplined children that you consider those children, why don't you be like those children? Those children also misbehave. If you ask their parents, they tell you. Like my child was misbehaving in this circumstance, but for the other people, they might seem disciplined. But discipline, is a process, as we said, because children are not adults. They don't know the world. They don't know so many things. There are a number of things that they need to be exposed. And the more they are exposed and the more they know, then they get to know what is going on. Like in learning, when you graduate from college, you are not done. You go on the job and then you get training.
Yes.
So you get exposed. The more experienced person is more educated than the person who just graduated from a college. It's the same for kids as well, for children as well. Whenever they are exposed and they get opportunities to learn, then they learn more. So even though the most disciplined children will misbehave at one point or another,
They will still misbehave.
Yeah.
I wonder how disciplined children actually look like. Reverend, think about the children you have seen in your neighborhood, in your network, and you have been able to step out and admire and say, wow, I wish my wife can bring up children like so-and-so's children. I wish my son can bring up children like so-and-so's children. What did you see in those children that made you make such kinds of comments?
Well, yes, I've always compared children from different families, and I have always recognized the fact that some are more disciplined than others.
Okay.
And throughout my life, I have come to like families where children will be able to adhere to the norms of that family, because there is always a difference in the way people live.
Yes.
In some pretty much, drunkard families, children who will be sent to the pub and bring a bottle without having opened it will be called disciplined according to them, because they have not, opened their beer. Others who are sent to the shop to bring sugar and they have not, pinched the pack and tasted the sugar, they will be disciplined. So in this case, I want to look at families which are following the societal norms. And I would want to say that children of a particular family are well disciplined just because they are able to follow the rules, of the society. How does that come about? You had earlier asked the question whether good people or disciplined people may have children who are indisciplined. It has happened even in the Bible, in the story of Eli, whose children did all the mess at the altar. And why does this come about? It's as a result of the absence of the parents. The parent may be in the house, but they do put clear attention to their children. So for me, children who are disciplined are those who have reached an age, at least the age around 5, 6, below, we are talking about children below 12.
Yes.
5 and 6, they begin now realizing that this is how the mother does or the father does, then I should be able to do the same. You had mentioned that rearing children or parenting might be a very difficult, job.
I think so.
We might discourage those who are getting married today, and it might be unfortunate. It is not, because
It's not hard work.
it is not gonna be, because if you love someone, whatever they do, you always keep on, correcting them. You keep on correcting them because you know at the end they'll come to understand. So, disciplined children are those who are adhering to the rules of society. But remember also there is this what we refer to as personalities of people. People are categorized in different personalities. And a child born, may inherit certain characteristics from you. Sometimes you are able to hide them. And as young children, they are not able to do. So if your family faces another one, and they are mainly they have different personalities, they might challenge you like you, your family is not, disciplined. However, let us begin to see that children should be shown to look at the norms of the society. And mainly, if we do not bring them to understand or to learn from God, it's going to be too hard,
Okay.
I should say.
Okay.
Yes.
I like that. Two guests, how do we administer discipline in our children?
As we said, like if discipline is learning, there are different ways of teaching. One is by example.
Okay.
If the parent is saying something and doing something, children sees what the parent does.
Okay.
So the number one way of disciplining is like by showing a good example, teaching them how to do certain things. So that is one way.
Yes.
But the other way is like, as we discussed earlier, repeatedly showing them and telling them what to do, how to do it, why is it wrong. Like there is a different way of parenting. At least we say like there is 3 way of parenting: authoritative, authoritarian, and permissive. What this 3 different way of parenting shows is like the one is very authoritative, and they tell, they don't listen from the child. They only tell the child what to do and punish, and they are very hard on the child. So the child does the thing because he or she is afraid of the punishment.
Yes.
So they don't internalize and understand why they shouldn't do the things they are doing. It's only for the sake of the punishment that they don't do it.
Okay. Just because they fear.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second one is like, as we discussed, taking each moment as a teaching moment. Why you don't do this? What is the harm? Why are you not going to do it? So explaining and listening to the child, and also communicating to the child is the best way.
That is the best way.
That is the best way. The permissive
They
one.
make mistakes, and you have a conversation with them. Why did you do this? And you correct at
And
that
then
point.
you correct at
Okay.
that point. The third one, the permissive one, is like they don't correct at all. So the child is like
So what is that? The child makes mistakes, and you say it
Mistakes.
is okay.
they for different reasons. Either the parent is not around,
Okay.
or is too tired for discipline, or is not, like those kind of reasons. It has its own reasons. The permissive parent has its own reasons, but those kind of kids also can be undisciplined. But the one we discussed, like, I would like to take you back to the act. Acknowledge feeling, communicate, limit, target alternative. So always you first acknowledge the feeling of the child that you are disciplining, rather than going into punishment right away without even understanding. Because like the child might not do it for the harm, or those kind of different reasons that we are thinking as an adult. The main thing that we have to do is like understand the child. So that way, when we communicate limit, we have to communicate also action that we are going to take.
Okay.
Like if you are not going to do,
We're going to punish.
This consequence will follow you. So always, if a child is not going to do something, a consequence follows, because the
Yes.
world operates like that even
Yes.
as an adult. So we have to communicate our consequences as well on the communicate limit. So if they pass that, then we administer the consequences. The consequence might be different for different child.
Okay. Reverend, talking about discipline, many people do it the wrong way. Some people don't do it at all. And they think that, I love my children, I want to keep them. If I try to discipline them, then I will lose them. Because children have also become so sensitive. So on anything small, they become irritated and they go against their parents, especially because there's peer pressure outside there. As they talk to each other, they realize, oh, my parents do this to me, they give this to me, and they allow me this. But when I go home, my parents don't allow me this. How do you discipline your children?
It's very interesting to listen to the world and see some parents wanting to be permissive, like just say, so that they may not lose their children.
Yes.
That is an easier way of losing the children, because
It's an easier way
yes.
of losing them, not
Losing-
keeping them.
Not keeping them,
Okay.
because you really lose the grip, and children always need a moving target, someone with whom they are following. A teacher becomes a teacher when he stands in front of the class and expressing what he wants impressed of the students. In order for us to keep the children, we need to be authoritative. She has used those terms pretty well, and not authoritarian. Authoritative meaning that we are required to explain why we are punishing this. She has used the ACT, acronym, which is pretty well put. We need to explain, at a certain age, of course. But early alone, there's no need of explaining.
Earlier on, what do? We just spank.
Early alone, there are many things we are going to do. One thing, to be present, okay? To give them a lot of activity. These people have, the young toddlers at age 2 to 3, they have a lot of energy.
Yes.
They are only eating. They are not, they are not using the energy to think over what to do for the family or this. Even sometimes I saw a picture on on a matatu saying this: I wish I would live the same age, a toddler walking. Walking on fours, crawling, because he says, I don't want to pay for house rent. I don't want to pay for electricity, all these. She's saying, I would rather remain this way because, more mature people suffer over the same. So the child has a lot of energy. So it is important for the parent to think and prepare age-appropriate activities. And the challenges, a challenge do come when the parent is absent. And the substitute is this one who do not have the objective, who do not know where to take the child, because it doesn't belong to her, or it doesn't belong to him. Therefore, little is done to keep the child active. If you keep the child active, playing about with them, or giving them, proper toys for them to play about, they tend to get tired, and they will not do the many things that, you would call indiscipline. So, for a toddler 2 to 3 years, or 2 to 4 years, let them have a lot of activities to keep them going, because it's going to teach them to do things that we have shown them. Again, this child who is now growing very fast, it is the cells of the body that are developing so fast, she's gaining weight, but the brain still almost remains the same, even if you are adding a lot of information to it. They need to be guided when they are at that, stage of growth. We talked of crisis. A parent should be able to understand, once they move from one, point to another, there are special needs for the child. Even the kind of toys they have been playing while they have been playing with while they are at year 2 or 3, it is not going to be the same at year 4. The activities must change. So, for me, the most important thing is the presence, of the parent. And again, if there is any substitute, parents, sometimes they call it surrogate mothers, let them also be, I don't know, use the word training, let them be trained as well to be able to understand the needs of the child. Let them be explained about, how this child is in terms of personalities is determined at a very early age, so that they're able to work with them and they get disciplined.
Tigist, you had talked of availability of a student and a teacher, but yet learning cannot go on. Is punishment another way of discipline? And which is the right way to punish a child? Some parents beat their children so badly that their children now live in fear. And what you said, like when they misbehave and do mistakes, it is a good chance for the parent to realize and teach them something on that misbehavior. But children live with fear and now hide their mistakes and their misbehavior because the parents are too harsh and their punishments are also too harsh. Which is the right way to punish your children so that even after you punish them, they still listen to you, they still follow you, you still have confidence that they are your children and they're not going to run away, they're not going to hide their behavior from you because of the way you punish.
Yeah. As mentioned, like if you keep punishing, beating, the child will be submissive and will do the things that you ask him or her to do.
They will be submissive.
But
Mhm.
the problem is like later on, when they have the chance to misbehave, they'll take out where the parent is not around.
Mhm.
They'll just act the way they wanted to act.
Mhm.
Because like we don't give them the inner strength, the inner ability to decide. You know, like the parent will not say don't do this and don't do that to harm the child. It's just to benefit the child.
Mhm.
The child has to know that.
Yes.
The child has to know why the parent is
Doing this or
doing
saying
this
this, yes.
or saying this.
Mhm.
When they realize and understand and grow with that,
Mhm.
you know, the inner self of the child will be stronger, will be much able to decide for themselves. They will keep the decision. The decision power will be on the child. So the child will say like, I will decide to follow this. But if they don't decide, then there is a consequence of that action. So the consequence might be different for different child.
Mhm.
Say, for example, it can be withdrawing something that they like. If a child likes to play football,
Mhm.
and if the other child doesn't like to play football,
Mhm.
for the child who likes football, you
Withdraw.
will withdraw
Mhm.
football.
Yes.
But for the child who doesn't like football, if you say like, I'm going to withdraw the football game that you're going to go or going to play, he doesn't
help
care.
him,
It
yes.
doesn't help him.
Yes.
So we try to see what is interesting to this child and withdraw that.
Mhm.
But even before we do that, we have to keep the consequence. If you are going to do this, then this is the consequence.
How about beating? Like I asked, some parents beat their children so badly, and this instills too much fear in their children that their children do not want to be close to them. And if they know they have been beaten for committing certain offenses, then they will hide. They would rather do such kinds of mistakes when their parents are away. So I like what Tiggy says, that you need to give them the inner strength, the inner ability to be able to decide by themselves in the absence of the parents. But now, Reverend, beating children. The parents who just come and they hear, what happened? She broke a glass. What happened? She ate the guest's food. What happened? She took 5 shillings and bought something without permission. And immediately you just take a rod and you begin spanking your child so badly. What are you supposed to do? Is that okay?
Beating
Mm-hmm.
should have a limit. They should not be that ruthless.
Mm-hmm.
Parents who beat children, like you said, so furiously,
Mm-hmm.
they have issues within their minds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if you cannot beat somebody whom you love the same way we see others do,
Mm-hmm.
to an extent of even burning them, placing a hot, panga or a hot.
You know they have annoyed you so badly.
Yes,
Yes.
they have,
Mhm.
but if it is only the child that has hurt you, you won't really do that. If you continue beating the child so ruthlessly and he or she finds that they have no room and they have no space, there is no love for them at all, they are going to rebel. They'll wait until the age in which now they can show you their reaction by running out into the streets. I have had an occasion of, counseling one child. He was in Standard 6 in a certain school in the Muru, who had ran away from the parents because both of them, they could not have a moment to listen to them. They never had, they are thinking only of what they are giving the child, instead of also thinking that they have a duty, to take care of this child.
Yes.
And to understand, like she says, to let him internalize what they are going through. If a child, in a shop steals a few shillings, there are sweets all over, but he wants now to go and give his friends or friends out there. You need to begin to think, why is it that he wants to do that? Is it because, you have not given him enough time to go and pray with the rest of the children so that he could be buying relationship from them? The basic thing in order for you to avoid this beating, is for you to understand the developmental stages, and again, to remember that this is your child. Now, beating in itself is to hurt the body, okay? It does not soothe the heart. It does not even, form the mind.
But when it causes you pain, it can make you think.
You won't, okay. If it is repeated every time, your brain will interpret that this figure ahead of me, is always to destroy me. All right? So you should have some moment to balance beating with something else. All right? There is in psychology what a concept we call challenge and support. What support are you giving over the action that is happening? What is that which you are motivating him to do and he's failing to do? Because you can not always come and tell me, drink this water. I don't feel like taking it. You need to tell me how helpful this water. That's what I mean by support.
Yes.
How helpful is this water to your body? Even if you feel like your body doesn't like it, you need it.
Just take
Let
it.
me just understand.
Yes.
So, that furiousness in punishing the child, it is going to be wired in the brain such that you are an enemy to them. So instead of now towing the line, they will rebel. They will now fight against the same. They will come to violence. And again, it might be translated in future. They may not show it at the moment you are living in them. It may be translated in marriage that it is good to beat. If I suffered this much under the hands of my mother or my father, then I should express the same to my wife or to my children. Then the thread continues, and nothing will lead to so.
There's this other myth, Reverend, that people also have, that when you want to beat your children, you just beat them a little for small mistakes, or you spare them at all, you don't touch them. But when they have committed big offenses, then you choose just once, like you keep telling them one thing and they don't get it, the same thing and they don't get it, the same thing, 3, 4 times. But now when you say it the 6th time, then on that occasion you just get a rod and you spank badly. Does that help?
I take it. Okay. Anything, repeated so many times the same way, and it is not bringing any effect, the person who wants to perfect the same must change
The tactic.
the tactic. Every time you keep on beating, you are telling this person, I have no idea. I have no other idea. This is the only thing I can do, so I'm not any better than you are. You see? So you not gain respect. But once you try to use your brain and the heart, and that's why women live longer. When they have a lot of problems with their wives, with their husbands at home, they tend to go and share the same. They kind of ventilate the same with others. So they get different ideas how to handle the situation, and they are able to live until their husband dies. And they get to smile later on. So, like you say, you put it pretty well, that once you do something, you beat once, twice, and perhaps 6th or 10th time, you should think of changing the tactic, because they'll get they get kind of used to the same, so it doesn't matter to them. But if now they see something, another version, they'll try to think over it. They'll cool down, and that will give you the unit of measure. Is this working? Then if it doesn't, then you upgrade the same until at one point you see whether he's also going to, children always want to perfect over you. They are studying, yes, they are studying you every time. You are the coursework. It is not any other person. It is you whom they will display. It's you whom they display outside. Even if you look at the, the games, the plays that they do, they will play the mother game or the father game.
Yes.
If that is what they see, you see. So if you don't change, if you don't improve, if you don't upgrade, then they will take you for granted, and nothing will change. And it's also good for parents to seek for advice. There are people who have had various experiences, and they have discovered some behaviors as a result of, like I said, result of some disorders within the children.
Okay.
They could be having poor vision, poor hearing, ability, and this
And
could
they are
also
getting
cause
from the children. This has really been good, and I believe that all people who are watching us have been able to learn a lot, even myself. And I want to give you a chance to give us your parting shots, even to our guest. And one of the things that I would like you to even address is, why must I discipline my children? What is that important? Does it make a difference to have indisciplined and disciplined children? Does it make any difference growing up? Because I will live life, I will go to school, I will marry, I will work. What difference does it make? Why must I discipline my children? I will start with you, Tegist.
Yeah, not disciplining a child by itself is child abuse, by the way. And a parent has to discipline a child because, as we said, since discipline is a training, when the child goes out in the world, in the bigger world, the social world, the work, the education, if they don't know how to behave or how to do certain kind of things, how to relate to people, what to do right and wrong, then that child will not have the life that he should have. So the parent, by not disciplining the child, is abusing the child.
Wow. Okay.
It is called like child abuse neglect also.
Thank you.
So the parent has to really discipline the child. Thinking of the child, not thinking of himself or herself. When you mentioned, spanking, usually people do that. They have to think, is it to, relieve myself, the anger that is boiling up inside them, or the shame that was created.
Okay.
So they have to think about that. But also, like, the main thing for a parent to do is to understand the child.
Good. Reverend, your parting shots.
Yes, discipline is a very essential tool of child rearing. The fact that every living organism wants to, looks for survival of their own kind. We have just said that disciplining is making the child to overcome difficult situations in life. If we did discipline them, we are giving them the chance to survive in difficult situations in future. The world is full of enemies around the children. The environment around us is not pleasing to the lives of our people. So in order for us to leave a good legacy, let us discipline the children and discipline them in a way that they will be able also to discipline others.
Good.
God wants disciplined children, that's disciplined society.
Wow.
Amen.
Wow.
Yes.
You guys have done a very good job, and I am happy that parents have tuned in to listen to such kinds of instructions. I am really, really honored to have hosted you. Thank you so much, viewer, for watching this episode. It has really been a lovely time having you sitting there to watch and listen keenly to such kinds and words of advice. You got it, and I hope you take this home, that when you don't discipline your children, then truly this is child abuse. And also, when you beat your children, there is nothing wrong with this, but what is it that you want to achieve? Are you just letting out of your anger, or you are doing something particular and something good even for your children. Please listen to this once again. You can get this on YouTube. We are on GBS TV. GBS Kenya is our YouTube channel. You could actually get this also on Facebook Live. Please do watch this episode again and think about disciplining your children. Thank you so much. It has been a lovely time. My name is Betty Akuku. I have been your host. See you next time.